I think the legacy of Mandela, will still be with us for, I think, decades to come. For many reasons, which are linked to his history, but to the way he understood power and led a country which was a divided country, coming from outside apartheid, from a man who had been locked up for 27 years. Of course, I think he had not solved all the problems South Africa is facing. And of course, he is bigger than South Africa. He's bigger than the continent. His legacy is the legacy for the whole of humanity, actually, to build on. And I think his first legacy, this is a man who came out of jail and was ready to talk to the people who jailed him. And he was ready, because he's mostly a man of the 60s. 60s defined by radicalism. And you see it reading the INC Charter. Out of jail, he was able to adjust to a completely new moment. Adjust as an individual, but also adjust as a politician. And what everybody predicted, he single-handedly dealt with, that South Africa will not go through a racial civil war, that a space was open for negotiation, a space was open for compromises, a state was open to invent a new world. And I think it's the most important element. Mandela was behind the idea that it is possible to invent a new world. It is possible to turn enemies not into friends, but enemies into partners. That it was possible pulling different memories, different heritages together. It was possible actually to reinvent South Africa, in particular to reinvent an idea of South Africa. And you see quite clearly how astute he was, but how also, I think federative he was, by saying that this is a complex country and this is the way you should do things. The second element which seems to me important is the most important of his legacy, is this man decided to do one term and leave. And this is a revolution in Africa. He could have stayed until his death. He could have, because he's already the myth. He's already, even when he left power, he remained the person to go to in a moment of crisis, a person to go to when you need an advice, a person to go to when you need a voice to mobilize. So Mandela is this very powerful voice, but it's a voice of a democratic politician. It's a voice of a man who was able to say at a point, I have been too long in jail, I have done what I had to do to help the transition. Now I'm too old to remain president. I have to pass the baton to the new generation. And he did a great job passing the baton, living and never commenting on what was going on there, but still staying on the stage, walking through his foundation to address very important social issues at the level of South Africa, but also at the level of the world, becoming a world actor. Actually, probably in the late 20th century, the other person who had played kind of a role, at least at the level of the world stage, is Bill Clinton. And the third thing, which seemed very trivial, but which is also very important, is when he decided to just drop his the suits and ties of a formal uniform of president to wear these very colorful shirts, and return actually, through his dressing, return to a state of an ordinary citizen of a world, and return home to live his life as an ordinary man who can cultivate, after working for the future of a nation, after setting the foundation for the future of South Africa, actually to go back to his past and rediscover probably the joys of, being back with your people and rediscovering a life you haven't lived. And I think it's something very, very important. Politically, of course, we can actually discuss some of the choices he made. Also the kind of result he has, reached, but something which will remain with us and remain with history is the way in which not only he ensured a kind of peaceful transition in a context, as you know, of violence, but the fact also the way he left power and hold himself as a powerful, wise man.